Cleanliness in Egypt was not only the act of scrubbing or bathing, it was also the waiting. After linen was washed in Nile water, after stains were rubbed with ash or natron, after garments were beaten against flat stones until they yielded their grits, there was one final step, letting the desert itself finish the cleansing. The sun and the wind were partners in this process, steady and unhurried. Garments were lifted from rinsing jars, heavy and dripping, and carried to racks made of wood or reeds. These racks were simple, cross beams tied together, branches lean in rows. But they held the fabric at just the right height to catch the air. Cloth was spread wide, pleats tugged straight, folds smoothed by hands. Each garment fluttered softly as it took the breeze, its damp weight slowly yielding to lightness. The Egyptians knew the balance well. Sunlight was needed to bleach the linen, to draw it towards whiteness, to kill what was hidden in damp. But too much sun, too long in direct glare, and fibers grew brittle, snapping more easily when worn. So, garments were often turned, rotated, shaded when necessary. Sometimes they were left half in shadow, catching the air more than the light, so that the drying was even and the cloth softened instead of stiffened. The sound of it was soothing, fabric snapping lightly in gusts, reed racks creaking, birds calling overhead. The smell changed too. Damp cloth at first carried the faint tinge of ash, of natron, of river water, but as it dried, the scent became lighter, touched with sunlight, touched with air. That clean, nearly intangible fragrance that comes not from oils or perfumes, but from openness itself. People waited. There was no rushing the desert's rhythm. Children played near the racks, weaving between lines of cloth, laughing as they hid behind billowing sheets. Women inspected seams, retying what had loosened. Men leaned on staffs, watching the wind's progress, sometimes chanting short songs to pass the time. Drawing was both work and rest, labor completed by nature, requiring only attention and patience. When garments were ready, they were light again, soft in the hand, cool to the touch. They folded crisply, pleats holding their shape, edges neat. Stacks of fresh linen were brought back into homes, ready for another cycle of wear and wash. The dress in linen that had just dried beneath the desert sun was to wear a piece of the air itself, to carry the scent of wind and light against the skin. This was more than convenience, it was identity. To the Egyptians, cleanliness was visible, and linen was the canvas upon which it displayed. A freshly dried garment was not simply cloth, it was proof of rhythm kept, of attention given, of balance maintained between body, household, and world. Even in temples, garments were dried with the same care. Priesthood required purity, and linen used in rituals was treated as sacred. To lay such cloth out beneath the sun was not just practical but spiritual, letting Ra himself, the sun god, bless the fabric, letting the wind of Shu pass through it. When those garments were later worn in rituals, their freshness was part of the offering. And so wind drying was never an afterthought. It was a final gesture, a closing note in the song of cleanliness. It gave the linen not only utility but life, finishing what hands had begun. But there was still one more step in the rhythm of staying clean, not for the day, but for the night. To lie down to sleep with the faintest scent of soap or oil was itself a ritual of comfort, a way of ending the day as fresh as it began. That is where we go next, into the hush of bedtime, when fragrance and linen met to cradle the body in rest. Cleanliness in Egypt did not end when the sun fell, just as the day began with scrubbing, pouring, and sealing. So it ended with gentleness. Small rituals that prepared the body not only for rest but for dreams. To be clean was not only to work comfortably in daylight, it was also to sleep in harmony, to enter the night in balance. Soap in Egypt was not the bar we imagined, but a mix of natron, ash, and oils, sometimes worked into a paste, sometimes rubbed into linen itself. Its scent was faint, sharp but pleasant, like the memory of fire softened by sweetness. After the last meals of the day, after lamps were lit and courtyards quieted, garments were adjusted, faces rinsed, and the faint scent of soap lingered on the hands. That scent, woven into cloth, into beddings, into very air of the room, became a signal. The day was complete. The body was ready to rest. Linen mattered here as much as it did in the morning. Fresh layers were tucked close, cool against skin still faintly oiled, still faintly fragrant with beeswax. Blankets were light, often little more than cloth folded double, but they carried the same sense of renewal. To lie between clean linen was to feel embraced by purity itself, to feel that Ma'at had been restored not only in body, but in spirit. The Egyptians loved fragrance, and bedtime was no exception. Some tucked herbs, thyme, mint, or lotus petals into their pillows or near their mats, letting the faint scent rise as they drifted off. Others rubbed a drop of perfume oil into wrists or temples, a modest touch, never heavy, meant to soothe the mind. These scents were not indulgence but comfort, reminders of order and care. To smell clean was to feel safe, and to feel safe was to invite sleep. Imagine lying on a reed mat beneath a flat roof, the night breeze slipping through shutters, carrying the scent of river water and dusted earth, linen cool against skin, the faint trace of soap on the air, the warmth of oil still softening the body, stars above, scattered across the dark sky, as steady as the day's rituals. The body rested because the mind knew balance had been kept. There had been no waste, no neglect. Every act had been measured, thoughtful, wise. Even for the poor, even for servants and laborers, this rhythm of cleanliness was honored. It might be simpler, it might rely more on sand and ash, less on oils and fine linen, but the pattern remained. To wash, to change, to end the day clean was part of identity itself. To go unwashed was not only uncomfortable, it was a mask of disorder, of neglecting one's place in the harmony of things. Cleanliness was dignity, even in poverty, and the night ritual affirmed that dignity quietly, gently before sleep. There was also belief that dreams were clearer, purer when the body was clean. A soul unburdened by dirt or disorder was more receptive to messages from the gods. Priests and dream interpreters noted that those who sleep clean often dreamt of temples, of rivers, of journeys guided by lights. To enter sleep with a scent of soap was to step into the night's other world prepared, respectful, ready to listen. And so, the day closed as it began, not with grand gesture, but with small careful acts. A rinse, a change of linen, a faint fragrance, a whispered prayer. To stay clean in the desert was not only to resist heat and dust. It was to affirm balance in every hour, to weave ma'at into morning, into noon, into night. From grit to glow in 6 steps, that was the rhythm of Egyptian cleanliness. It began dry, with sand and ash scrubs that swept away the night's dust. It continued with careful pouring from copper jugs, streams of water that refreshed without waste. It sealed itself with the beeswax and oils, shaping hair, softening skin, modesty perfuming the body. It wrapped itself in fresh linen, garments laundered and dried beneath the desert wind, whitened by sun, softened by patience. It trusted the breeze to finish what water began, and it ended with the lightest of scents, soap, herbs, and oils, guiding the body into rest. To the Egyptians, these steps were not indulgence, they were identity. To be clean was to be balanced, to show respect for self, for community, for gods. In paintings, the whiteness of linen shone as brightly as the gold of jewelry. In texts, purity was praised as much as strength. In life, these rituals gave comfort, dignity, and belonging. And they were wise. Every drop of water was measured, every act was shared. Children learned early to scrub with sand, to tilt jugs carefully, to fold linen crisply. Families washed together, dried together, perfumed together. Cleanliness was not private luxury, but communal rhythm. In the desert, where dust never ceased, where sweat returned as quickly as it was washed away, cleanliness was not permanence, it was practice. Each day, again and again, the rituals unfolded. Each day, balance was restored. So, when we imagine staying clean in ancient Egypt, we are not imagining extravagance. We are imagining wisdom. Dry scrubs before water, careful pours instead of waste, beeswax sealing against heats, linen freshened by wind, scents that comforted body and spirit. A spa day in a sandland, yes, but also a way of life. And as the night closed, with linen tucked close and soap faint on the air, Egyptians slept not only clean but assured that they had lived the day wisely, that they belonged to order, that they would wake renewed.